Consultant, RCIC, and I'm here to answer all your questions about postgraduate work permits and give you a short 201 version. And if you have time and if you are interested, we can go even with 101 version, how to apply for one, how they're different from other work permits, their eligibility, duration, what documentation you will need, how to apply for it, and all COVID-related exemptions, which you are all, I'm sure, very anxious to hear. So could you please confirm if you can see my screen? Okay, so basically that's how the postgraduate work permit looks like. It will show at the end here postgraduate work permit, what it is, and any terms and conditions would be put on this bottom part. Okay, so current time to receive a postgraduate work permit when you apply, doesn't matter whether it's online or on paper, is 73 days. So postgraduate work permit is for those students who are interested to stay in Canada and use their knowledge and skills received during their period of studies to gain necessary work experience in Canada, and I'm pretty sure try to qualify and apply for permanent residence. So an open work permit, which you get after graduation, is valid from the period of 8 months to 3 years. So generally, the students of Hanson College and Cambrian, they're eligible for 1 year and more, but I will cover here the basics, how the terms are calculated. First of all, not all designated learning institutions, DLI, have postgraduate work permit eligible programs. So it has to be mostly public, all public diploma or degree granting institutions. Hours of study have to be at least 8 months. The program has to be at least 8 months. It could be also a private institution, but in this case, to be postgraduate work permit eligible, it has to lead to a degree, diploma, or certificate, the program, and only the programs leading to degrees qualify for postgraduate work permits, unless it is a Quebec, but we're not going to touch it because we're not in Quebec. The students have to maintain full-time status during all semesters. In the last semester, you are allowed to study part-time, or also you could take an approved leave. Make sure that if you are taking a leave, the leave is approved by the college and it is for a valid reason. Otherwise, you will lose your postgraduate work permit eligibility. You need to have a valid study permit. And you need to apply within 100 days of the date of your final transcripts. Now, make sure it's not the date that you receive the transcripts, because Canada Post is very unpredictable. Someone can send you a letter today and you will receive it in a month. It's actually from the date typed, printed on your final transcripts. And for this, you have to be in constant communication with your student services. And obviously, you need to have a valid passport. So when aren't you eligible for a postgraduate work permit is when you already received a postgraduate work permit once. If you're applying for a second, if you're taking a second study program, then you are not eligible for it. It's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If your program is ESL, English or French as a second language, you're not eligible. If the courses you are taking are not leading to an academic, it's not academic program, it's general interest or self-improvement courses, such as pottery, for example, or some kind of folklore studies. If you participated in the Government of Canada award programs through Global Affairs Canada, if you got an equal opportunity scholarship from Canada-Chile program, if you participated in the Canada-China Scholars Exchange program, or American States Fellowship Program, or completed the majority of a study program by distance learning. So it's e-learning, correspondence, or online courses, except under the COVID-related public policy, which we will touch upon later on. And if you are completed a study program at a non-Canadian institution in Canada, there is a number of such institutions if students are studying in one of them, but this is not related to you anyway. So about accelerated programs, let's say the program is a 1-year program, which is officially 2 semesters. and you are not taking the authorized semester in between this semester of study, so you're not taking a break, you are taking all the courses without any vacation. So it means the program is accelerated, and the length of the postgraduate work permit will be determined by the usual non-accelerated length. So if you completed such program in 8 months, but the program itself is listed on the college website as a 1-year program, you will receive a 1-year postgraduate work permit. Distance learning. Less than 50% of your studies have to be online. Again, it does not relate to very particular specific exemptions under COVID. Hopefully the COVID is going to be over soon, and normal rules will apply. So normal rules is if you are outside, or if you are taking program with online component, then the weight of this 50% will be taken by the credit hours. So let's say if you have 5 subjects with, I just hypothetically give the numbers, 100 hours and 5 subjects with 120 hours, you have to make sure that those that weigh 120 hours are in Canada and not online, are in class and not online. Also, if you are currently in your home country and you are taking an online program and you are planning to come back to Canada, please do so before the end of the program, because any part of the program taken in Canada will be considered by IRCC as taken in Canada. When you are taking the leave from your studies, as I mentioned, the leave has to be authorized by the school. The valid reasons are listed here. It's either medical reasons or pregnancy, family emergency, God forbid death of serious injury, illness in the family. If the school is closed for whatever reason, or the staff is on strike, if you've changed schools, or if the program start date is deferred. Now, if it's deferral, it is valid only for 1 semester, and even if it's short, you still have to study the next semester available. You cannot defer it for a year, you can defer it only for 1 semester in order to be eligible. Please note, it is not allowed to work on or off campus during an authorized leave from your study program, even if your study permit says you're allowed to work in Canada. If you look at your study permit, it says many things, but conditions apply, and you better know for sure. And in this case, you are not authorized. So if you're taking a leave, immediately stop working if you worked. If you transferred between designated learning institutions, here we put it DLI for the shortness and convenience. The combined length of your studies must be at least 8 months. And if you're transferred from non-DLI institution to Hanson, only the time you spent studying at the DLI institution, in this case Hanson, will be counted. You must spend at least 8 months at the DLI to be eligible for a postgraduate work permit. There are some Canadian study programs where you are taking a part of it overseas. It's overseas component, like internship or exchange courses. Now, if you are learning in such kind of a program, you may be eligible for a postgraduate work permit as long as you earn a credit from a Canadian school for it. So let's say you are taking a semester learning varieties of French translation in Nice or in Paris, but if your credits still be issued by Canadian institutions, then it's considered to be eligible for postgraduate work permit. Now, the questions that I received and I just wanted to cover here is related to this. Students ask, for 2-year program, how long we get the postgraduate work permit for? Or with 3 semesters, how many months of postgraduate work permit we will get? Partly I already answered this. Now I will get into a little bit more detail. The question about how many years of postgraduate work permit will provide by Vancouver campus. Vancouver campus is subject to the same rules and conditions as here the campus in Toronto, and all the other designated learning institutions covered here within the IRCC guidelines. So basically, if it's a 1 year, it's 1 year. If it's 2 years, it's 3 years. And if it's something in between, that will be counted. So if your program was more than 8 months, but less than 2 years, your postgraduate work permit may be valid for up to the same length as your study program. For example, it is 1 year and maybe 1 extra semester. So you will get 12, and for T and 4, you will get for 16 months. If your program was 2 years or more, and again, the program is listed on the college's website, postgraduate work permit should be issued for 3 years. If you completed more than one program, or whatever is also called stacked programs, you may be able to get the postgraduate work permit that combines the lengths of each program. Now, in this case, each of the programs you took must be postgraduate work permit eligible and at least 8 months in length. Now, how to apply for a postgraduate work permit? The rules since 2019 is you have to apply online. The exemptions for paper-based applications are very few. One of it, if you have a disability that prevents you from applying online. The other one, if you are on a strict deadline and there is a major internet outage, there's issues with government website, it happens sometimes, then in this case, you can provide a very specific and explanation with screenshots, with documentary evidence, and submit it on paper. Also, if you apply for a postgraduate work permit from your home country, you are allowed to apply through the visa application center, but still in this case, I would still recommend applying online because you will get the confirmation immediately, or at least within 24 hours in your MyCIC portal. So what do you need to apply for the postgraduate work permit? You need to get your documents ready. You need an official letter from your school that confirms that you've completed your study program. So it's called a letter of completion, or ready to graduate letter. It differs in some institutions. And on top of that, you will need your final transcript, official final transcript, or if it's not sent yet, but it's already showing on your official student portal, you can have a printout from your school website, and this will be sufficient. Terms, time limits. You may apply up to 180 days after getting degree, diploma, or transcript with an official letter from your school, whichever comes first. So the question was asked, do I have to apply, do I have to wait for my diploma or degree to apply for a postgraduate work permit? The answer is no. You may get your diploma or degree 1 year after, but there is a very thin window to apply for a postgraduate work permit. As it says here, you need 2 documents, official graduation letter and final transcript. Once you have that, apply. Moreover, I would recommend you to get into your portal, start your application, and wait until these letters with everything else ready. Once you get them, upload, and here you go. Do not let your study permit expire. This is one of your eligibility factors. If your study permit will expire before you get your marks, you have 2 options. Apply for the visitor record to stay in Canada longer, or leave Canada and apply for your postgraduate work permit from your home country. If your study permit expires before you apply, well, if you manage to get it expired and you don't change your status to visitor, you're out of status, my friends. So you have up to 90 days after it expires to apply for postgraduate work permit, and at the same time restore your status as a student, which will cost you dearly. To restore your status as a student, you have to apply online for your postgraduate work permit, pay the correct fee, $255, which is $155 for a work permit, and $100 open work permit fee, and the fee to restore your status as a student. So it means that you will also have to pay a study permit fee, $150, and the restoration fee, $200. So think carefully whether 1 or 2 days of not looking on the expiration days of your study permit is worth $350 extra. Due to the system limitations on government website, if it happens that you're in this situation and you have to restore, then you have to buy the receipt online and attach it to your postgraduate work permit. Because as I said, this type of applications, there are rather exceptions and not normally used. You're not allowed to work until your study permit and work permit have been approved in this case. So if you've been working and if you plan to work, tough luck, you have to wait for 73 days or more until you get approval. And if you don't apply within the 90 days, which is a restoration period, or the restoration period 90 days already passed, you have to leave Canada. If you need to extend or change the conditions in your postgraduate work permit. Now, in this case, you also have to apply on paper. What does it mean that you need to extend your postgraduate work permit if it's not extendable? So sometimes your validity of your passport is expiring. It's not, for example, valid for 3 years. It's valid only for 1 year. In this case, your postgraduate work permit will be issued to the validity of your passport. And in this case, it will be marked in the beginning in the remarks that I showed on the sample. It will be shown that issued to the validity of passport. This is only one exemption when you're allowed to extend your postgraduate work permit. Once you have your passport renewed, print the rules, get the forms, combine everything in the paper-based application, and send it to the processing center. Okay, so also the change of the conditions is applied for if you need to provide an additional document. We can cover it if we have more time, but generally you don't have a right to work in a hospital, in a medical setting, in an elementary school or a daycare if you didn't take a medical exam. If you didn't plan to do it and suddenly a good opportunity presented itself, then you take a medical exam, send application to change terms and conditions on your work permit, and once the new one will be issued, you will be able to have these conditions removed from your postgraduate work permit. Working after you apply for a postgraduate work permit. Now, this work permit is a white unicorn of all work permits in Canada in terms that this is the only one which allows you to work without waiting until a physical paper that you receive. So once you apply and get a confirmation that your application is in process, which is within 24 hours in your portal, you can continue or you can go and look for work and start working. You also need to have a valid study permit when you submitted your applications. You need to have completed your study program to be eligible to start working. And you were eligible to work off campus without a work permit in the first place while studying. So also when you will be applying, the government will be checking if you did not exceed the 20 hours allowable limits when you were allowed during the time of your studies. You are allowed to study only up to 20 hours. If you exceeded that period and it comes to light, then you are not eligible and you are in violation of terms and conditions. You might be in big trouble. If these conditions don't apply, you must wait until your work permit arrives to begin your new job. It is illegal to work in Canada without proper authorization. You have to remember that. If you have any questions, you are always welcome to ask the consultant, to ask me, send question to me directly or to student services, or book a consultation if your situation is a bit confusing for you or you have some legitimate concerns. We are always here to help you. Now, if it happens that for whatever reason IRCC refuses your work permit, you have to stop working the day you receive this notification. Questions which are most frequently received: can I apply for a job before I get my postgraduate work permit? Yes, you may apply for a job, but whether and when you may start working will depend on your timing, which is crucially important because, as they say, the devil is in the details. Now, if you have a study permit and you're considered a full-time student of Cambrian College at Hanson, except during your last semester of studies where you're allowed to study part-time, and you didn't take any English or ESL programs, or it weighted less than 50% of your program, your study permit allows you to work for up to 20 hours a week on campus and full-time at the time of your scheduled break from studies without applying for a work permit. Now, this is also your eligibility for postgraduate work permit and your start working. Once you complete your program of studies and become eligible to graduate, you have to stop working until you apply for postgraduate work permit. So what happens in practice? Let's say you have to look at your letters of admission. That's where the dates of your program of studies are enter it, and you have to look at your, you have to know the dates on your actual programs, last programs that you are taking. So please get in touch with student services and ask them what particular date will be on your eligible to graduate letter. Because it takes some time to assemble information for this letter, to mail it for you, and for you to receive it from Canada Post. So the date that will be on this letter will be different from the date you will receive it, unless it will miraculously show up in your portal. I'm frankly speaking not sure how it works there. But this date, which is on your letter, this is the date you are losing your ability to work, because you are officially in completion of your studies. Your studies are completed. Now you wait for your final transcript and your eligible to graduate letter before applying for postgraduate work permit, because you need these two documents to apply. So what happens if you've been working part-time? You come to your boss and you say, this such and such situation, explain, show the government links, the website, print out from the website, and ask to be placed on unpaid leave to have a, like, to keep your position. Once you receive this letter, as I said, you prepare your application online, you upload these two letters, you get there within 24 hours, you get a letter with your file number, download, save it in your computer folder, print it, make sure you have it. This is the date when you can start working again. And the caveat is you are not eligible for a postgraduate work permit if you exceeded the numbers of hours you were allowed to work. So if you worked more than 20 hours during your studies, then sorry, tough luck. Can I work anywhere in any type of job under the postgraduate work permit program? Yes. This is an open work permit. It means you can work 20 hours, 30 hours, 50 hours. You can open your own business. You can work for 5 different employers if you wish, and if you're willing to work 24 hours. However, there are some exceptions. You're not allowed to work in sex industry. You are not allowed to work for an employer who is on an ineligible employers list, who violated terms and conditions of foreign workers program in the past. They're blacklisted. The list is online on the IRCC website. And if you didn't take a medical exam, you are not allowed in a medical clinical laboratory, child or senior care occupation as a teacher or teacher assistant at a primary or secondary school. You're not allowed to work as a home care or child care in-home help. You're not allowed to work in a geriatric or nursing facility or with disabled people. For that, you will need to take a medical and change your terms and conditions to remove the condition on your work permit. It will be visible when it says postgraduate work permit. How do I show a potential employer that I'm allowed to work if I cannot show the actual work permit? Now, the link on your screen right now, this is the link that you have to go take a screenshot or ask the college for the presentation afterwards. You can do a printout and show it to your employer, and also show the documents that prove that you're in compliance with these instructions on the printout. Prove that you completed your program. Again, copies of your official letter from the college, an official transcript, a copy of your study permit which shows that it's valid and has these conditions printed, may accept employment on or off campus if meeting eligibility criteria per paragraph R186F, W, or V, must cease working if no longer meeting these criteria. What does it mean? Must cease working if no longer meeting these criteria? We already covered. A copy of the acknowledgement of receipt from your postgraduate work permit application if you applied online. Basically, 99% should and have to apply online. And this is one of the reasons. You want to go to your employer and show them all the documents. You have the document right away after your application is submitted. Now, to be allowed to work right away, the acknowledgement of receipt have to be received before your study permit expired. So let's say you are waiting for your 2 letters and your letter and the final transcript. Today is March 3rd. Your study permit expires March 10th. It means before March 10th, The last date is March 9th. You have to submit your application for postgraduate work permit and receive an acknowledgement of receipt. Luckily, there are some COVID-19 program changes that were taken lately, which are into the students' advantage, and they are as follows. It relates to the students who have already started their studies in Canada. Study permit holders, SP, it means a study permit. Study permit holders who had already begun their studies in Canada but left Canada and are continuing their courses online from their home country under travel restrictions and public health guidelines. It relates to study permit holders who are already in Canada to start a program in spring, summer, or fall 2020 or winter 2021 semester. Winter 21 semester is already underway, but whose courses will initially be online only. Applicants who have been approved for a study permit to begin a program in the spring, summer, or fall or winter semester, and who will begin their program online from their home country given travel restrictions. Applicants who submitted a study permit applications to begin a program which starts in spring, summer, or fall 2020, which already passed, or winter 2021. Those who will begin their program online due to travel restrictions, they might not have the study permit yet, but those who are eventually approved for a study permit, they're also eligible. Okay. Distance learning. Normally, all distance learning courses completed outside Canada are excluded from the time accumulated towards the length of the postgraduate work permit program. 50% of a student's courses, as we discussed, must be completed in Canada and a class. However, under COVID, the following temporary policy changes have been met to better accommodate eligible international students who have completed distance learning in or outside Canada. So what are they? In Canada, if you are in Canada and you are studying in Canada, if your classes have been moved online due to COVID-19 related health restrictions, will remain eligible for the postgraduate work permit. Outside Canada, time spent studying outside of Canada in a postgraduate work permit eligible program, which is offered by an eligible Canadian institution, which means your college, until April 30th this year will be counted towards the overall length of the postgraduate work permit, provided a student completes at least 50% of their program of study total courses in Canada, either online or in class. As I said, if you are deliberating whether to be home or come back to Canada, come back to Canada. And if your program has not ended yet, please do come, because even 1 week before your program, you come here and take it in Canada, the program will be considered as taken in Canada and in class. Short-term studies. Now, students who started short programs, 8 to 12 months in length, in the spring, summer, or fall 2020 semester may complete the entire program of study outside of Canada and still maintain your postgraduate work permit eligibility, provided that you meet all other applicable program criteria, which we mentioned. No unauthorized breaks, it has to be full-time, and so on and so forth. You don't have to take at least 50% of your program to study in Canada in a class. So if you are feeling lucky, yes, you may. However, there are two notes which are very, very important. Time spent studying outside of Canada will only be counted towards the overall length of the postgraduate work permit until April 30th. It means if your program is finished on April 30th and it started somewhere after the program covered your studies, so January last year, then you are eligible. But if you are outside of Canada and you continue in studies after April 30th and you are still outside of Canada, then this time will be deducted from the eligibility of your postgraduate work permit. So again, if you are sitting on the fence whether to come back or sit there, do come back. And second important note, for those who are accumulating points and planning to immigrate in any of the categories covered by the Express Entry System, EE, Unfortunately, the credential, which is earned completely outside Canada, will not be eligible for the points allocated for a Canadian education credential. So if you're planning to get extra 15 points in your express entry system for the Canadian credential, and all the credential was taken outside of Canada, you're not getting it. You still maintain your postgraduate work permit eligibility, but no 15 points for Canadian credential. Program stacking. Students who have enrolled in a program with a start date in the spring, summer, or fall of 2020 semester, who study outside of Canada up to April 30 this year, and who graduate from more than one eligible program of study, may be able to combine the lengths of both programs of study when they apply for a postgraduate work permit in the future. Again, as long as 50% of their total studies is completed in Canada. Each program needs to be minimum 8 months, and the programs have to be completed from an eligible DLI within 2 years, as per regular IRCC instructions currently in force. Part-time status. Students who are in or outside in Canada may have been required to put their studies on hold or become part-time students due to course cancellations as a result of public health measures at their DLIs. And again, for the winter, spring, and summer 2020 semesters, when your student status changed from full-time to part-time due to changes in course delivery at your college, your eligibility for a post-graduation work permit will not be impacted. Now, make sure it's not your fault that you didn't register. If you were tardy and you didn't register for courses and you don't have any spots left, this is not the college fault, this is your fault. So try to find a solution, but if you have an authorized gap, then you will not be eligible. Now, there's some more clarifications to facilitate the issuance of postgraduate work permits related to pandemics, which were adopted on January 27, so they're quite new. The objectives are to allow eligible and former postgraduate work permit holders to apply for an open work permit from inside Canada. And obviously, the government took into consideration that because of the COVID, there were a lot of closures and cancellations. And especially for those who took a one-year program, they basically wasted their one-year postgraduate work permit. So now there is, again, once in a lifetime chance to extend this and get an open work permit. It's not called postgraduate work permit, it's called an open work permit, and it also includes those who changed their status to visitor or fell out of status. The maximum duration of this work permit is 18 months or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. So check your passports, and if it expires for less than like sooner than 18 months, you may want to extend your passport first. The objective of this policy is to exempt eligible foreign nationals from certain past restrictions or even infractions which would have resulted in non-issuance of a work permit. Let's say under the normal circumstances, if you worked after the completion of your studies before applying for postgraduate work permit, you are not eligible. Boom, under this policy, it is allowed. This is not a blanket approval. Everything will be Each application will be reviewed individually, but generally this is a situation because sometimes it is not because of your fault, but because of COVID, and it has to match the requirements. The evidence showing meeting the criteria of eligibility have to be submitted, and it has to be very clear. You need to hold a valid postgraduate work permit that expires within 4 months of the date you submitted their application, or held a postgraduate work permit that expired on or after January 30th, 2020. So if your postgraduate work permit expired on January 29th, tough luck, you're not eligible. If your postgraduate work permit expires more than 4 months, then there's probably is a solution, but again, it will be looked individually. You need to be in Canada physically on January 27th, 2021, when the public policy took effect. You have to remain in Canada, you have to be staying in Canada all the time, and one of the following have to be applicable to you. Either you have valid temporary resident status, it doesn't matter if you converted to visitor record, you should be eligible. If you lost your temporary residence status, but you submitted an application to restore, remember 90 days period is a period allowable for restoration of your status. Or if you lost your temporary residence status, but you're eligible to restore it, and you submit an application to restore, but haven't got the result yet. So you needed to have submitted an application to restore at the same time as you applied for the open work permit. You must submit your application from within Canada and request consideration under the public policy. So in your MyCSC account, when you generate your list of personal document checklist, there is a slot that's called client information. That's where you submit this letter. When in big letters, I don't know, Arial 35 in highlighted, you mentioned that you applied under this policy, because each immigration officer has only 10-15 minutes to review each application. If you don't, the onus is on the applicant to show that they are eligible. This is your eligibility requirement. You have to specifically ask for this policy consideration, and the application has to be submitted online. Okay, so this is it. Now, if there is a lot of students here who have no idea what is MyCIC account, we can cover this later on, or we can make another session. It will be maybe 15-20 minutes. And now the questions. Are we going to answer the questions? Okay. Yes. Okay, so should we go to the questions where they're in chat, right? Are they in chat? Okay, let me. Okay. Okay, see her question. How many hours can I work after my final exam finishes after my last semester? So again, it's not about the exam, it's about the exact date of your study completion. When is your program completed? Because your program, let's say, theoretically may officially end on December 29th, and you are lucky and your last exam is on December 8th. So between this and December 29th, you're allowed to work, but you are allowed to work only 20 hours or less. Okay. If I do not want to take a break after my second semester, then is there any problem in postgraduate work permit, as my course is cloud computing, because in 16 months my course will be completed? Okay, again, I mentioned accelerated programs. If this is considered an accelerated program, if it's an official 2-year program, and you are taking it in accelerated format, then I would suggest you take, just in case you take a confirmation with student services, and there shouldn't be any problem with your postgraduate work permit. As the program is officially listed as 2-year, then you will receive your postgraduate work permit as 2-year. If it's listed as 1.5 years, then you will receive 18 months postgraduate work permit. Okay, when and how to apply for a co-op. We have a presentation somewhere which I prepared last year, how to apply for co-op. You don't have to pay any money and you have to do it online. Now, if you have MyCIC account, you can schedule one-on-one appointment. I'll show you how to do it. If you don't, then probably I will have to send me a message and I will send you a copy of the screenshots with step-by-step instructions. Okay, any other questions? I'm not going to take your break. I'm not sure if this question is related to postgraduate work permit eligibility or to eligibility to work, because if you're not taking a break, you're not allowed to work full-time during your classes. If you're not going to take a break during courses, then it's accelerated program. By all means, look up at your letter of admission. The exact name and duration of your program has to be on your admission letter. Okay, let's suppose I haven't worked in the first 6 months of my study period. Can I use those hours in later part of the year to work more than 20? No. How many hours can I work after my final exam? Okay, we answered that. Anything else? Are there any students who don't know what my CIC account is? Type it here. Could you please elaborate more? One, the 15 point not being calculated in express entry profile. Okay. According to this new policy of January 27th, if you took all your program online from your home country, you are still eligible for postgraduate work permit if the program fits between January 2020 and April 30th, 2021. So yes, you are eligible for postgraduate work permit. But if you were outside of Canada for all the duration of the studies, then you are not considered to have earned a Canadian education credential. In express entry, 15 points are allocated for Canadian credential for college for 1 or 2 year program if you took it in Canada. But if you didn't take it in Canada, if you physically were out of Canada, then 15 points are not being given to you. Any other questions? We still have some time left, I see. Question, do I need to get my education credential assessment done from home country even after studying in Canada? Well, if you want your credential earned in your home country to count towards your express entry points, yes, you do. Okay, to note that WES, World Education Services, is not the only one, but so far it's the fastest one. However, if your degree or diploma was from a private institution or was less than 3 years, you may consider looking into other options because WES requirements are very stringent. Do you have any more time? Or you would like me to cover also the process of applications through online, because it's online that you will have to apply for a postgraduate work permit. I think we can cover it like in 5 minutes. I can share my screen and go through it. Just let me know. I don't see any other questions. Do we have any other questions? Oh, that was fast. Just remember, there is no such thing as a bad question. The only bad question is the one that is not asked. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope it was useful, and please, please, please do ask if you have any questions. Okay, one more. Can I do co-op internship and then work under postgraduate work permit from the US, considering most of the organizations are working remote virtual? Would that have an impact on my express entry points? My one-year program is ending in August 2021. Okay, this is not strictly a question about postgraduate work permit. This is about express entry points, but actually, yes, it will have an impact, because to be able to earn points for Canadian work experience, you have to be physically in Canada. It doesn't matter if you're working online, you have to be physically in Canada, and it can be very easily verified on your passport stamps. So if you are working from the US for the Canadian company, it's better to be in Canada. If you're working from the US for the US company, it's not going to be counted as Canadian work experience. It will be counted as a foreign work experience. Or if you are working or if you're working online for a Canadian company, then physically you still have to be in Canada. I'm sorry. We have requested clarification from IRCC, and that are the answers that we received. The question that I received and I haven't touched up. Someone asked me a question, what GPA do I need to have in order to be able to apply for postgraduate work permit? So none. You have to be in good standing. It means that you have to pass. GPA is, in my humble experience, only necessary when you're applying for another study program. If you are applying for a job, very few employers would look into your marks. They will probably test you or interview you. If you are good, they will keep you. If not, sorry, that's not the marks. So you have to pass. You have to be in active pursuit of studies, and you have to be in good standing. So you have to pass your courses. Whether it's barely pass or with flying colors, it's entirely up to you. Of course, it's better to be good, but then again, life is different. Okay, so thank you all, and we're gonna end here, right? It's so weird to talk and not hear anyone.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, everyone, for attending the webinar. We can end the webinar now if we don't have any more questions.
Thank you, Evan. So I'll click on leave, right?
Yep, you can. I will end the webinar now. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You as well. Thank you so much.